Hey guys, we're going to be doing a tutorial on Don't Starve Together, showing you how to basically get from point A to point B. So if you're looking to get from the start of autumn all the way through winter, you're struggling through winter, we're going to hopefully try to help you learn that. But we're also going to be doing it unedited as well too. So anything that you see here, nothing's changed, no editing on the video at all. So you guys can kind of see how we get past day 5, past day 10, past day 200 without having very many issues. And one of those things that can really help you out a lot is having friends play DST with you. I do see a lot of people that buy Don't Starve Together and they don't realize that they actually get a free copy to give to anybody that they want. So when you buy DST, you get a copy for yourself. You also get a copy for a friend. So if you choose to play Don't Starve Together by yourself, that is okay. You should know that the difference between Don't Starve and DST is a few different things. One of them being the fact that bosses are a lot harder. Their HP goes up. I mean, sometimes it can be up to 5 times the amount that they normally are. Another thing is that there's certain things that are not included in Don't Starve that are in DST. And for example, different types of weapons and different types of gear that you can get as well too. So you kind of want to make sure that you look at that possibly before jumping right into Don't Starve Together first. Before we get in, I'm going to show you a few mods that I like that are single player mods that you can use for yourself. Sorry, client mods that you can use for yourself. So clicking on your mods folder, you're probably not going to see anything here until you download them from the workshop. You can actually go directly to the workshop on Steam, click on Don't Starve Together, and add a few of these mods that you like. One of them that I really, really like is a mod called 50 Save Slots. I would highly recommend this mod because it helps you in a million ways. One, you don't have to worry about naming things different, and being like super specific with them. You can have as many as you want and not worry about overwriting previous ones. Normally, you're only going to have 6 spots anyways. This will increase it to 50 and not make you kind of worry about accidentally deleting the wrong one. The second mod that I'm going to really recommend is a mod called Admin Scoreboard. It's a mod that basically does exactly what it says. It gives you admin capabilities with a click of the button. So if you're not really familiar with anything, it helps you to be able to kick people if that's kind of what you're looking for. It helps you to give you to give you God mode in certain situations if you're looking to learn how to fight certain things. And you can toggle through different abilities, reviving. You can teleport yourself to certain areas, things like that. Combined status is also a big help. I really like this mod a lot. It helps you kind of know a little bit more of what your stats are, your HP, your sanity, things like that. It also tells you the different types of, how many days are left in certain times of the cycle of Don't Starve Together, through winter, through autumn, through spring, through summer. After that, a mod that is a must-have, at least in my thing, this is kind of like a later on mod, is geometric placement. It basically makes everything look really nice. So I don't really say you should focus on this now, but as if you're ever on Twitch or on YouTube, you're probably going to hear about this mod a lot. And that's because it's a well-known mod in the community, as like it makes everything look nice and pretty. You're going to see me have it on here. Don't worry about it too much. It's not really something that you need to start out with. Next mod that I'm probably going to recommend is something called More Players. If you want to have more than the normal 6 players on your DST server, More Players is exactly like 50 save slots, but it's just that you can't, it's more so adhered to like players, obviously, right? So it just kind of limits how many people you can have in there. Clicking on the settings, you can kind of edit it to how many people that you actually want to have in there. So, that's kind of a good thing to have if you don't want to restrict yourself to only having 6 people to join up with you. Other than that, that's it for the client mods that I'm going to really recommend. The rest that you see in here are a lot of aesthetic things, nothing that's too must-haves, but definitely the ones that I mentioned before. If you like them, you should definitely add them. All right, so let's go ahead and we're going to make a host, and we're going to host up a game so people can join up with us. So first, you're going to want to make yourself a new world. You can click on Social, Cooperative, Competitive Madness. What this does is basically tell you what people are kind of looking for on when they're searching for a game. We're going to click on Cooperative because obviously that's what we want to go for. As you see, the max number is 64 players, but I'm just going to leave it like that for now instead of changing it. I'm going to make the password on mine, and I'm going to set the world to endless. You have survival, you have wilderness, and you have endless. The difference between the three are survival is when you die, you turn into a ghost, and you can't be revived unless somebody revives you. The portal will not revive you at all. If all players in the game die in survival mode, the game will shut down and tell you that the game is going to be restarting in a few seconds. The other option is wilderness. What wilderness does is if you die, you can respawn in, but your character will be reborn in as a whole new character and it spawn in somewhere in the map. Endless mode is the mode that I always play with. This makes it so ghosts don't cause you to lose sanity if a friend is dead near you. In survival mode, that will happen. It also will make it so you can spawn in as many times as you want through the portal. Definitely would recommend doing this. Most people choose survival because that's what the default is, but that's kind of the harder way of playing it. So I would definitely get used to endless first before switching over to survival. Next, you want to name the game. So mine's just going to be Off on a Game, so Twitch's World. Then you go through the settings. I'm going to leave everything completely normal. And I'm going to leave the caves out for now, but I'm going to add them in anyways. We probably won't go into the caves for a while. Next up is your server side mods. So server side mods are basically what everybody that's joining your game is going to see. So I like to pick a lot of them, but for this video specifically, I'm only going to pick the ones that really matter to me that I think you should have. One of those I think that you should really go with to start is going to be, I have to scroll down because I have quite a few, are the global positions. So what global positions does, and this helps out a lot, is lets you see other people in your world. So when you go to the options in global positions, you want to make sure share map is turned on. What this does is it lets you and anybody that's in the game with you share the map as you progress through it. So if you and a friend are kind of going through and seeing everything and exploring the map, if you have that disabled, their area is not going to show on your map. So if they're standing there and they have a boss near them and it's on the map, it's not going to show if you have that disabled, but it is going to show if you have it on. The only downside to global positions is if you do have it on and you have a lot of people in your game, it's going to lag because it has to consistently load all those things. My recommendation, after the map is completely revealed, turn share map off. It'll save you a lot of headaches and might help you save a little bit of kind of RAM when you're sharing out your world. Next up, another mod that I would highly recommend is probably going to be let me see, the Show Me mod. The Show Me mod is another mod that I really like. There's another mod called Health Info, but the Show Me mod kind of does everything that you've ever asked for in DST. It'll tell you how much like a boss is left of HP, tells you how soon something's going to rot in the game, tells you so many different things that a lot of other mods kind of have a little bit separate. So this is kind of like an all-in-one sort of mod. If you don't like it, if you want to go natural on DST and kind of learn from scratch, you don't really need this, but it kind of helps you kind of learn a little bit of, okay, this creature only has 100 HP. Maybe I should attack it. Oh, this one has 10,000 HP. I should really avoid it. I would highly recommend this mod, especially it helps people that are in the server get used to like what's there. And it tells you how long your food has until it's going to go bad, or how long until a bush is possibly going to regrow with more berries. It's a really helpful mod and can get you kind of like your foot in the door when it comes to DST. Other than that, there's a few other mods that I would recommend, but for now we're just going to stick with these two. One other mod that you can kind of go with that I've always gone with since the beginning is no thermal stone durability. What a thermal stone does is during wintertime, it keeps you warm if it's heated by the fire, and if it's summertime, you put it near a cold fire and it cools it down, or inside of a fridge and it cools it down. It keeps you cool while walking around in the summertime. The reason why they added thermal stone durability to DST is because of like a little bit of, I'm assuming they probably wanted to make the game a little bit harder. I don't actually like it, so I always turn it on. So I never have thermostone durability because I don't believe that a rock should randomly just go bad on you. So I usually leave that on. So then that way when people are in my world, it just never expires. But today we're going to leave it normal. So those are the mods that we're choosing. Everything's set properly. We're just going to double check that the password's set correctly. Everything should be good. 64 players max, even though I'm not going to have 64 people join. PvP is obviously set to off. PvP is pretty straightforward. You can have public, friends only, local only, or in Steam group. I usually choose public so that way everybody can see the server name. And as you can see, server playstyle is set to the top. This does not matter. It can be set to whatever you want. It's just how people search for games when they're trying to join. You also have a rollback function here, which is pretty straightforward. What it basically does is if you are in a game and you randomly like burn down your entire base, and you might have been AFK, maybe you had to go do something real quick or something like that, you can roll back right away. Or if you're lagging in the server, you can roll back to the previous day. All right, let's go ahead and generate the world. So the first thing you want to do when you're loading into a Don't Starve Together world is kind of pick your character. If you've never played Don't Starve Together before, I'll give you a few examples. I won't go too in depth with the characters, but I'll kind of give you like a idea of what I would choose to start out, or who I chose when I first started playing DST. We're also going to be having 2 friends join in with us, because I think that Don't Starve Together is meant to be played with people. The more people that you play DST with, the better, honestly. And I think that it'll help you kind of gather resources faster and build bases faster. But if you choose to play by yourself, it's okay as well too. So first up, when I first started playing Don't Starve Together, I kind of went with the basic Wilson character. And Wilson's kind of like your general character that's going to get you through the year, and kind of get you where you need to go. But as time goes on, you're going to want to pick somebody that possibly can fight a little bit more, or possibly can kind of like defend themselves a little bit better, or maybe just a character that's a little bit easier going. In this case, I suggest just playing Wilson if it's your first time. Will is another character that's kind of like a different side of that gives you kind of like a different side of against the grain. You started with a lighter. You started with the ability to be immune to fire, things like that. She went through a few changes, and now she's kind of at the way that she is right now, where she has a little baby bear that she can have with her name Bernie, and Bernie gets bigger when she goes insane and protects her from shadow creatures. I don't want to get too in depth with that, so I want to basically ignore the focus on characters, because you can go through different guides and see character guides on each one of them. So we're just going to go with a basic Wilson to start, and then in the future maybe we'll switch out to another character as time goes on. But I'm going to start out with Wilson, and hope to see how far I can survive with him. But Wilson was definitely my first character. If I had to choose a character that I personally would recommend, I'm a Weber main. And the reason why I chose Weber is because he does a few different things. He's able to interact well with spiders, not get attacked. He can use them to their advantage where they can attack each other. And the best thing about Weber is that when he does this, he gives you 3 special things that you'll find out later on in the tutorial. But I don't want you guys to focus on that too much. But if you are looking for an overall character that a lot of people ranked as number 1, Wickford would probably be everyone's choice. Wickford is a fighter. You start out with armor. You start out with the weapon. You start out with meat to start out as well too. But the only downside is that she can only eat meat. So I don't think Wickford is a good starting character. But people will tell you that Wickford is one of the high tier characters because of that reason, because she starts out and she's able to fight and do a lot of things. So if you want to jump into hard mode right away, I probably would say, go to a different character. But if you want to start out classic, always go with Wilson. You can go through the process of choosing different skins if you like as well too, but that's completely up to you. All right, so we're going to start in. Our friends should be joining in any second here. And the first thing that you're probably going to want to do as soon as you have friends in here, wait for them to join in. Hello, Kiri. Hello, Rob. All right, so the first thing that you want to do when you jump into a world is you want to look at where you are. So obviously it's a little bit harder to kind of explore the entire map. So the first thing that you want to do is go around and pick up everything along the edges. So obviously you're not going to have all of your friends follow you. You're going to all go separate ways, and that's why global positions is the best thing. As you can see, the map is discovering each where they're going. Kiri's going up, Rob's going to the right, and the map is slowly discovering everything that's over there. And you can see that as they go, berry bushes and twigs are showing up on the map. Now, if you have a global position set to off or not share map at all, that would not happen, and you would lose all of what is showing on there until you turn it back on again. Some people will tell you picking up flowers along the way is a bad idea, but I always suggest picking up flowers, and we'll find out why later on. So along the edges, pick up everything you can, whether it's carrots, whether it's twigs, whether it's grass, whether it's berries. And then when you get a chance, we're gonna follow up on where to base. But this is kind of where you want to start. Going along the edges is kind of like it kind of fills in the gap. It's almost like when you're making a puzzle and you're making the outside first and then you work on the inside after. That's exactly the same as it is with DST. You can really do whatever you want, but I think that in this case, this is kind of helped me along the way, and I think it probably would help you a lot too. So we're going to go along the edges and kind of just get as much as we can. It might take you a few days, But as long as you make sure that you get yourself some grass and some twigs, you're going to be perfectly fine. It takes, in order to make yourself a torch, which is going to get you through nighttime, it takes 2 pieces of grass and 2 twigs, I believe. Yes, it does. 2 twigs and 2 pieces of grass to get yourself a torch. And once you have that in your inventory, try to make sure that you have at least 4 pieces of grass and 4 twigs minimum. This will get you through 2 complete days, and you won't have to worry about anything else until then. After you're kind of done like collecting a complete set of like twigs, and you might have 40 or 50 in your inventory, don't worry. It's better to have more than, you know, it's better to have more than the normal amount on you at all times, just because when you're starting out, you're going to want to get more resources than not having, you know. Just don't worry about leaving some behind, you know. I know some people when they start out, they don't want to pick all the grass that might be close by. They don't want to, they don't want to just grab everything and then have nothing to collect later on. By the time you go and collect a twig, the next time you go around to see if they're there, they're going to grow back again. As I mentioned again about the Show Me mod, the beauty about it is it says it's going to grow back in 4 days. So right now it's day 1. So in 4 days from now, which is I think an average of 8 minutes per day inside the game. So and just 4 days from now, these are going to completely regrow. So that's why I'm saying it's better to just pick them up now than later on. As you go through the different biomes and stuff too, you're going to see different things. You're going to see different turfs. So looking back, you're going to see certain turfs. Like for example, this is where you're going to find a lot of the rocks that you're going to need later on. You're going to find different things like wormholes, and we'll talk about that as time goes on too. Pretty much with this one, we're just going to kind of focus on exploring the outside of the map and kind of going from there. A few things to kind of realize as well too in DSD is a lot of people struggle with trying to find food when it comes, you know, to the first few days. You're running around, you're seeing a few carrots here and there, depending on what biome you're in. Always make sure you grab as much as you can. Your character is not going to get super duper hungry right away, and you can pretty much survive on a few carrots. This is another reason why the Show Me mod honestly helps a ton, because you can see that it tells you exactly what you want to know. It tells you that you're going to gain 12.5 hunger from eating just 1 carrot. It tells you you're going to gain 0 sanity and you're going to gain 1 HP. Now, a few of these pieces of food that you get as well too are better when cooked, of course. Carrots are one of those that you don't really need to worry about cooking. So if you do pick them up from the ground, just make sure that you keep them, and these are one thing that you should always eat, just raw. Berries are a different story. You can cook berries if you like, but I would definitely suggest grabbing as much of these as possible. If you're wandering around and you see things like this as well too, this is known as a Boon. It's basically a dead body, like a spawned in skeleton that will have loot around it. And this could vary from having anything from, you know, some rot around it with some flowers. It could have pretty much anything, including one of the best items in the game known as a walking cane. So if you do manage to find some of these things, I would suggest picking it up. You're not going to be able to get yourself a backpack right away unless you're playing a different character in this game known as Wickford. But to start out, just continue to pick as many things as you can. And then when you get close to, when you see it starting to get a little bit closer on your dial to nighttime, that's when you're going to want to make yourself the torch. Now, the torch should last you an entire night, and then it should also get you a little bit through the daytime. But obviously, you're going to take the torch. You're going to release the torch when the daytime shows up. So 1 torch should hopefully make you 2 nights if possible. We're a little low on cut grass right now, but that's okay. And remember, always pick up all the flowers that you can. Back when we first started playing a lot of Don't Starve Together, flowers were kind of one of those things where everyone was kind of saying, no, don't pick it, don't pick it, don't pick it. But then as time went on, people started realizing that they don't really matter so much, you know, right away, because they will spawn in again. So get yourself flowers, and then when we get a chance later on, because these are going to rot in 6 days. So on our next video that you see, we're going to show you why picking all of these flowers early game was a really good choice. So pick as many as you can and grab as much flint, grab as many carrots, and continue to explore with your friends on the outside of the map. And you can start to see how things are slowly filling in. It helps out to have more people join in at the start of the world, but later on, if you are playing by yourself or you decide to, it could take you, up to maybe 8 to 10 days before you uncover the entire outside of the world. So that's why I always suggest, playing with friends, because it's basically the way that Don't Starve Together was meant to be played. If you're walking near little mobs like the spiders and stuff, you don't really have to worry about them that much, because they're not going to really run after you that fast, and if you just run away from them, you're completely fine. Stay away from picking up things like this. This is another, I don't know if it's called the Boon or not, but it's basically a little trap. And if you pick up this ice staff, you're going to notice that all these hounds are currently sleeping, but as soon as you pick this up, they're going to chase after you and try to kill you. So definitely avoid picking anything like that up, because you don't want to be attacked by those. These are known as Fireflies, and Fireflies are they're not really a late game item, but you can use them to basically capture them and turn them into a miner hat, or put them around your base to keep your base lit up without using a light source. It's basically a free way of having light in your base. They'll only give you temporary light, so if you are in trouble and your torch seems to be running out, you can run over to them really quickly, and they'll give you temporary light until you basically are standing there. They'll slowly disappear. So I'm going to probably suggest to avoid doing that unless you have a chance to find another one close by. So if you find, for example, 2 or 3 Fireflies, you can rotate between one of the 3 continuously, and then you'll always have a light source until morning time. It's kind of like a savior in case you have Charlie after you. And Don't Starve Together when you first start out. The 3 things to worry about the most is make sure that you don't end up in darkness, make sure that you have some food on you, and make sure that you have a torch. Other than that, you should be good. The one thing is, don't let yourself get past day 8 without starting to build a base. And we'll kind of talk about why that's a thing in a little while. So as you can see, certain biomes that I'm currently in right now are very low on grass. But when you look at your friends, you can see that they're passing by little grass areas consistently. Like Rob's in a twiggy biome with a bunch of bees. And then you can also see that over here where Kiri passed by, she's on her way to picking up some more grass and stuff over here. So I mean, it depends on what biome you're in, but you can pick up random things depending on where you go. So I mean, although we're still on our torch, I should be able to find at least like 1 or 2 pieces of grass laying around. But if you don't, and you want to play it safe, I would avoid staying in these biomes, because the longer you stay in here, obviously, the more you run a chance of running out of a torch. But I'm going to show you an easy way of avoiding that if you can. Mobs will always attack each other depending on what they are. Pigs and spiders do not get along, so if they are near each other, they're always going to attack each other. You can always pick up whatever they leave behind as well too. Silk is not really useful right now, but I'll still pick it up anyways because it's on the ground, so I might as well grab it. Red mushrooms are one of the worst pieces of food in the game. They're used for filler, what gets used in a crock pot. So we won't really get that right now because it's kind of a waste of time to gather those resources. Now you might be noticing that all the things that I just highlighted in the game while shift and clicking on them, that's from a mod that I have called Action Queue Reborn. I wouldn't really focus too much on that mod right now. The only reason I'm using it is kind of just to speed up the process of picking some of these things up. But if in the future you are looking for a mod that you can click on a bunch of items at the same time, I would highly suggest getting that. If you look at this thing, it looks like a horseshoe. This is a walrus camp. That appears in wintertime, and that's what lets you get yourself an actual walking cane. So the boon that I talked about, which is found at the dead skeleton or the dead body that's in the game, what that spawns in, that is, you can get it. You can either get the walking cane from getting that, or if you kill the walrus, and you can have up to 3 walrus camps inside of your world, depending on what kind of settings you have enabled. You can get yourself a walking cane from the remains, which is you need a tusk and then you need some gold, and it's usually located on an address. I can't show it to you right now because we don't have an alchemy engine, but it will be located under that, and that helps you walk a lot faster. So we're in another biome right now, but we still can't seem to find any grass. On day 3, at the beginning of day 3, we're all going to kind of team up and we're going to pick a spot on the map that we want to start building. One thing that you're going to need to make sure that you have is 1 piece of gold and 4 logs if possible. That'll get you your basic science machine that'll kind of get you going in the game. Another thing you're going to want to try to get as well too is as much grass as possible, but I would say before getting grass, get yourself some rocks. If you have a chance and don't starve together as well too, instead of building an axe first, you're going to want to try to build yourself a pickaxe. And I'll show you why here in a second when we get ourselves to a rock biome. Seeds can be pretty much eaten at any time. They get dropped pretty much on, I don't know if every few seconds or so, but it's pretty often, so you don't have to be too scarce with seeds. Berries and carrots, I would tend to keep those in your inventory as long as possible. So even though it's getting close to nighttime here, you can see that my torch is only at 21%. There's going to be a few ways that we can kind of get past this, and one of those is going to be to burn up a tree. As you can see, Rob is actually burning up a tree right now. This is going to get us a few things. You might look at this and go, oh my god, you know, they're going to burn down the forest. This is not good. I'm going to, you know, as long as you're not standing too close to the fire, you're okay. But 2 good things are going to come out of this. One, it's going to give you light. I usually suggest doing this at nighttime on day 2, but we're doing it during dusk is fine as well too. So as soon as this happens, the trees are going to take their time. They're going to slowly burn up, and they're going to turn into a burnt tree. And after the burnt tree is completely lit up, you can chop it down and get yourself charcoal. And charcoal is used in this game for making multiple different things. But one of the most important things in this game that it's used for is making a crock pot. And a crock pot is what gets you some of the most important recipes in the game, including meatballs, which we'll talk about when we get a chance to set up a base. So make sure you focus on getting all the elements. Stick with yourself getting a few torches. Make sure that you have the grass. Make sure you're consistently picking up as many flowers as you can. If you miss a few, it's okay. Remember to pick up as many berries. Try to avoid as many mobs. Try to get, I would say, if you can, a handful of rocks. Avoid maybe going for any night or early game, but we'll show you that when we can. I haven't had a chance to kind of get to a rock biome yet. So night's about to hit. I have 21% of my torch. That's not going to last long enough through the night. So we're going to also do what Rob just did, and we're going to burn up a tree. We're going to stay in here until night finishes, but another thing that I wanted to show you as well too is a wormhole. Wormholes are pretty useful. They'll basically teleport you to anywhere on the map that this wormhole goes to. You can get a mod that's called Wormhole Markers, but I don't really want to mention that right now. It's kind of like a different thing to get if you're feeling that you're confused as where different wormholes go. All it does is make this purple, and say there's another wormhole right here. This will make this one purple as well too. In the morning, we'll go through it. Be careful though, wormholes reduce your sanity a little bit as well too. Not much, but if you find yourself going through a wormhole and then on the other side of the wormhole there's a mob that's trying to attack you, you're going to find yourself jumping right back through, then again reducing your sanity even further. Another thing to keep in mind too, if standing too close to a burning tree is going to force you to overheat, that's where you're going to feel that, you're going to hear that sizzling noise, and you're also going to notice that if there's trees that are next to each other, they're going to continue to burn and burn and burn and burn until the entire forest is on fire. But if you are in the situation where you go off screen, so for example, if all these trees were on fire right here and I wanted to stop the spread of this fire and I was very concerned that it was going to cause future problems, if you walk off the screen and don't starve together and nobody is there to see the fire spread, the fire will stop because there's no active people around it. In this biome as well too, you can see that there's a lot of flowers. I would avoid these biomes at all costs if you can. This is where you're finding most of the killer beehives and you're finding things that are going to attack you. The bees that are in the killer beehives are always going to chase you down. The ones that are in the regular beehives, when you walk past them, won't unless you attack them first. I'm going to jump through this wormhole so we can see where it goes. So we're not too far away, but we did get a chance. We did have a chance to pass right through the beehives and go right back to over here, which is a good biome to be at for what we want to do. Thank you, Rob, for making us meatballs. So Rob is playing a character known as Worley. Worley just recently got shipped over from Shipwrecked, which is a single-player Don't Starve game that recently has been kind of migrating a little bit over to Don't Starve Together. Not the game itself, but a little bit of the content. So he was actually able to make a early game meatball because he actually spawns in with the ability to make a crockpot. Or I believe he has a crockpot right away. But we'll talk about the crockpot recipes when the time comes. But, I mean, thank you for the meatballs, though. So the Pig King is a good resource for certain reasons. I won't go too in depth with the Pig King, but just know that if you're playing normal characters that are human, you're not going to be attacked by pigs or anything else. Depending on what character you're playing, different mobs will like you or not like you, and you can find this out by if you get a little bit closer to them and then they chase you down. That's when you're going to know that you're probably playing a character that's not liked by those mobs. The reason why the Pig King is so important is because later on you can use things called trinkets to get yourself even more things in the game and basically have yourself unlimited amounts of gold. The Pig King is also useful too because as soon as you find the Pig King, it leads you to other resources which are really helpful in the game too. If you're next to the Pig King, you're going to want to look for something called the Glomer Statue. The Glomer Statue is really helpful and always gives you one of the most important weapons in the game. It's not something that you can hit with, it's something that you can sing with. And that's called the pan flute. To start out, I'm going to drop off the silk because we don't need it for a very long time. The Glommer Statue is also important, but we're not going to talk about that now until we get to day 11. So don't really worry about what that does yet. Anytime you see the Pig King, look for the statue, grab your pan flute. This is all before day 6. I don't want to confuse anybody by skipping ahead and trying to gather too many things right now, so I want you guys to focus on basically getting your base ready and finding out where you want to stay. So now that we're on day 3 and we have a bunch of friends, we don't actually have any logs yet, but we're hoping that we can get a few more from chopping some trees down, and we're going to tell you what trees to chop down and which ones not to chop down. Before we set up our base though, take a look at your map. You can see right away that this map that we have is very odd. It looks almost like a snake effect. You might get maps that are like a snake, you might get maps that are round, you might get ones that are like a W, and then they have a few other things. It all depends in the world of Don't Starve Together because your map can generate in any which way. So, where should we base? Well, a lot of the times when you're playing in an endless world, if you're a person that does not mind dying that often and wants to continue to live in the game, I would suggest spawning at the near the portal. The world is set to endless, which means that you can spawn in as many times as you want, and the portal will really help you continuously spawn in. So if you find yourself worried that you don't want to, ask your friends to revive you every few minutes, I would highly recommend spawning at the portal. If the portal is all the way to the left, let's just say it was all the way over here, but all the other resources are all the way to the right, I might not suggest doing that because that's going to put you in a situation where you have to run all the way over to the left every time you want to get revived. In this situation, though, the portal is actually not in a bad spot. It's right next to a wormhole. It's also right next to a gigantic food source, which we'll talk about later on as well too. And it's kind of in the middle of everything if you look at where everything meets. The Pig King's not too far away. It has a few grasses, which will have a few resources over there to the right. And if you look all the way to the right, you have double biomes in the same area, which we'll go over after. So, with a bunch of your friends, make sure that you guys have some logs, make sure that you have some gold on you, make sure that you have some rocks, and head over to where you want to start basing. The map is currently not completely exposed. You can see that there's certain parts that we're missing, but time will come to where you're going to completely show the entire map and everything will be good. I keep talking about why to finish things before day 6, and one of those reasons is really important. When you're with friends, hounds are ruthless. If you've never played Don't Starve Together before, you're probably like, hounds? What are hounds? Well, mobs don't just show up randomly by walking in DST. They also show up when you're just least expected. And hounds are pretty much your worst nightmare. Usually by day 6 to day 8 is when you're going to be expecting a hound attack. And you have to be ready because hounds are not going to be there. And the hounds are not going to be, they're not going to give you mercy. They're there to wreck your day. Walking along, you see these things called grass geckos. Now, grass geckos can be helpful. They can also be pretty annoying. I won't really go too much into the second form of the grass geckos, but if you find them along the way, give them a little bit of scare and they'll drop you some grass, which is very, very helpful. It's a lot faster than picking up any type of grass that you would. As you can see, it's, you know, I'm just grabbing them real quick. Now, we're in a rock biome. As I mentioned before, get yourself a pickaxe and mine the rocks that look like this. There's two types of rocks. There's rocks that have gold kind of like, you know, all the way through the half. These rocks will generally only give you gold, flint, and rocks. Then there's these rocks which will give you which will not give you gold. They'll give you something called niter. And niter is the late game resource that you don't have to worry about. But like I said, feel free to get yourself as many rocks as you can early game. Once you finally find where you're going to go, you're going to want to get yourself an axe as well too. So obviously, you're not going to want to drop these important materials on the ground along the way. You're going to want to bring them to your base. Drop them in an area where you think you're going to build. So we'll drop things that are not important on us right now. The niter is not really that important. The cut stone's not going to be used for a few. And we're going to make ourselves an axe. Make yourself an axe by making sure that you have yourself one twig and one flint. And always make sure that you get your pickaxe first. Yeah, I'll go over that in a second as well too. So make sure that you get yourself a pickaxe because you're going to find yourself running out of flint pretty early in the game if you don't do so. Getting yourself a pickaxe and finding yourself a nice area for rocks, you're going to notice that you're going to be able to replenish your flint supply by smashing rocks early game rather than getting an axe first and using your flint on the axe instead of a pickaxe. It's just more important, and it's kind of a mistake that a lot of people make first. And you eventually learn, you know, what's more important to do first. You're going to find rocks are in different biomes as well too. Here you can see rocks are spread out in like the little grass biomes. These are not rocks. These are known as tombstones, which we'll go over in another video. So yeah, don't really worry too much about only going to those fields. You notice that after we approached that area, we decided that we didn't want to set up camp there. Rob made a good point that I didn't actually think about first looking at it. And that's the fact that when you go there, if you are near an area that looks like this will create what is called a meteor shower. And meteor showers are what the game uses to replenish resources. So if you find yourself in an area like that and you know that, you know, everything's around it looking all beautiful and things look all nice, it's too good to be true at that point. You're not going to want to leave yourself in a meteor area because meteors will hurt your base and they will also hurt you as well too. So always make sure that you're usually about a screen and a half away. Sometimes 2 screens away is a good spot to be. So chop yourself some wood, chop yourself some gold, get yourself some rocks, and make yourself a science machine. After you do that, if you get a chance to as well too, get yourself 2 more logs and get yourself 12 rocks and make yourself a fire pit. Fire pits are really important, and you're going to find out here in a second why. So place yourself the science machine. If you see this outline grid, don't worry about that. That's the geometric placement that I talked about a few minutes ago. It basically makes you plant things nice and neat and looking nice. So we're going to plant the science machine right here, and we're also going to plant the fire pit right here. We might learn our lesson. I don't think that the meteor field is going to reach over here. If it does, we can even move it over a little bit more if we need to. So there you go. Once you have yourself a nice little base like this is where the fun starts. This is where everything starts to come together. You're able to now cook your food if you really want to. One tip, never cook your food until your food is halfway down the food meter. Once it's at the halfway point of the food meter, you're going to find yourself keeping food a lot longer. Chester, you can tell this is an in-game little character that you're going to find along the way. You find Chester with what is called an eye bone. Locating an eye bone around the map will help you get basically a portable chest, and that's why they call it Chester. And Chester has 9 spots which you can store things in. It's basically like a backpack that you don't have to make. All right, well, there it is, guys. So this is where we're going to set up camp. On the next video, we're going to show you what the next resources are to make and how to get ready for that hound attack that we're talking about. Before logging off, we're going to go ahead and we're going to cook ourselves. We're going to eat ourselves some more carrots, and we're going to keep the meatballs for an emergency. I'll tell you why after. Always, another thing that I always try to do, always make sure that your hunger is at half. Playing Wilson, his hunger doesn't matter as long as it's not at empty. If your hunger ever goes to empty, your HP is going to start to go down and you're going to have a bad day. But anyways, guys, we'll see you guys in the next video, and make sure that you guys try to don't starve. I will see you guys soon. Let it go, make my body go, make our bodies high.